The library door clicked shut, and the sound echoed like a gunshot in my chest. I froze, my fingers clutching the edge of a worn calculus textbook. As Mr. Caleb Hart turned the lock with a slow, deliberate twist. His blue eyes met mine, and for the first time in my 18 years, I felt the world tilt beneath me. It was late. The kind of late where the high school felt like a ghost town. Its hallways silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. I, Ezra Kane, was the kid who stayed behind. Not because I loved math God. No, but because the library was my sanctuary. A place to escape the chaos of my life. A dad who drank too much. A mom who left when I was 10. And a small-town Oregon existence where being different felt like a death sentence. I was the skinny guy with too long hair and a habit of sketching in the margins of my notebooks, dreaming of a world bigger than this one. But that night, in the fall of my senior year, the library became something else entirely. Mr. Hart was new to Lincoln High, a transplant from some big city I couldn't pronounce. At 32, he was younger than most teachers, with a quiet intensity that made every girl in class blush and every guy sit up straighter. He wasn't just a math teacher. He was the kind of person who could make numbers feel like poetry. His voice steady and warm as he explained derivatives like they were secrets to the universe. I didn't get math, but I got Heimer at least. I wanted to. He was straight, married, untouchable. Or so I thought. Ezra, you're still here, he said, his voice low, not accusing but curious. He leaned against the door, arms crossed, his white shirt sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms dusted with dark hair. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. I'd been sketching in the back of the library, hiding from the world, when he'd walked in to return a stack of books. I hadn't expected him to stay, or to lock the door. Just finishing up. I lied, shoving my sketchbook under a pile of papers. My heart was a drumbeat. Too loud. Too fast. I was alone with him, and the air felt charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. He didn't move from the door. Instead, he tilted his head, studying me. You're always here, aren't you? What's keeping you? His tone wasn't teacherly. Not anymore. It was personal. Like he saw me. Not just the kid who flunked his last quiz. I shrugged, avoiding his gaze. It's quiet. Better than home. The truth slipped out before I could stop it. Raw and unguarded. I winced, expecting pity. But his expression didn't change. He just nodded, like he understood. He stepped closer, his shoes soft against the carpet. You're not like the others, Ezra. You've got something different. He paused, searching for words. Something real. My breath caught. No one had ever called me real before. Weird. Maybe. Quiet. Definitely. But real. That word hit me like a punch, stirring something deep and dangerous. I looked up, and his eyes were still on me, steady and unreadable. The space between us felt too small, the library too warm. I don't know what you mean, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. But I did know. I felt it in the way my skin prickled when he said my name, in the way I'd catch myself watching him during class, memorizing the way his hands moved across the chalkboard. I was 18, confused, and terrified of what I was starting to understand about myself. He took another step, close enough now that I could smell the faint cedar of his cologne. You're not just passing through life, Ezra. You're awake. His hand reached out, hesitating. then brushed against my arm as he picked up the textbook I'd been clutching. The touch was brief, accidental, but it burned through me. Electric and undeniable. I didn't move. I couldn't. My whole world narrowed to that fleeting contact, to the question it sparked in my chest. What am I feeling? I'd spent years shoving down thoughts I didn't dare name, especially in a town where different could get you shunned or worse. But here, in this locked library, with Mr. Heart's eyes searching mine, I felt something shift, something I couldn't unfeel. Mr. Heart. I started, but the words died. What could I say? That I was scared. That I didn't know who I was anymore. That his touch made me question everything I'd been taught about right and wrong. Caleb. He corrected softly. Call me Caleb. That was the moment I knew we were crossing a line. And God help me, I didn't want to turn back. The library clock ticked, each second a heartbeat. Outside, the world was dark. But in here, it was alive with possibility and danger. I didn't know what came next, but I knew I'd never be the same. The air in the library felt heavier now, thick with the weight of unspoken words. Caleb's hand lingered near mine, not touching but close enough to make my pulse race. I wanted to run, to stay, to scream anything to break the tension coiling inside me. Ezra, he said again, his voice softer now, almost a whisper. You don't have to hide here. He gestured vaguely at the library, but I knew he meant more than the room. He meant me, the parts one kept locked away even from myself. I'd grown up in a town where being gay wasn't just taboo, it was a sin whispered about in church pews. A reason for kids to get jumped behind the gas station. I'd spent years convincing myself I wasn't that I was just confused, that I could fix it if I tried hard enough. But Caleb's eyes, steady and unafraid, made me doubt everything. I'm not hiding, I said, but my voice cracked, betraying me. I pushed my chair back, needing distance, but he didn't move away. He just watched, like he was trying to solve a puzzle with no clear answer. You are, he said, not unkindly. And I get it. This place, it's not kind to people who don't fit. He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. But you don't have to be what they expect. My chest tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. The words came out sharper than I meant, but fear was clawing at me. He was too close, too real, and I was terrified of what he might see if he looked too long. I grabbed my sketchbook, clutching it like a shield. I should go? Wait. His hand caught my wrist, gentle but firm, and the contact sent a jolt through me. I froze, staring at where his fingers touched my skin. His wedding ring glinted under the library's fluorescent lights, a reminder of the line we were towing. I'm sorry, he said quickly, letting go. I didn't mean to, Ezra. I just want you to know you're not alone. Alone. The word hit like a blade. I'd been alone my whole life, even in a crowd, even with friends who didn't really know me. But hearing him say it, seeing the sincerity in his face, made something crack open inside me. Why do you care? I asked, my voice raw. You're my teacher. You're married. His jaw tightened, and for a moment, pain flickered across his face. I care because I see you, he said, because I know what it's like to feel trapped. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. My marriage, it's complicated. But this isn't about me. It's about you. I wanted to ask what he meant, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I flipped open my sketchbook, revealing a half-finished drawing of him, his profile. sharp and precise, captured during a moment in class when he'd been lost in thought. His eyes widened as he saw it, and I felt my face burn. "It's just a sketch," I mumbled, slamming the book shut. "I draw everyone." "You don't," he said quietly, a small smile tugging at his lips. "You draw what matters to you." He paused, then added, "I'm honored." The library felt too small, the walls closing in. I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that he didn't matter, that this was nothing. But the lie wouldn't form. Instead, I said, "You're not supposed to see me like this." "Like what?" he asked, stepping closer again. "Human." I laughed, a bitter sound. "Broken." "You're not broken, Ezra." His voice was fierce now, almost angry. "You're just figuring it out. And that's okay." The sincerity in his words undid me. I sank back into the chair, my hands shaking. "I don't know what I'm figuring out," I admitted, the truth spilling out. I've never said it out loud. I don't even know if I can." He knelt beside me, his eyes level with mine. "You don't have to say anything until you're ready. But when you are, I'm here." The weight of his promise settled over me, warm and terrifying. I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me. He was my teacher. He was straight. He was married. And yet, the way he looked at me felt like a lifeline in a storm I'd been drowning in for years. The library clock chimed, signaling the hour. I glanced at the door, then back at him. "We shouldn't be here," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. "I know," he said, standing slowly. "But I'm not going anywhere until you're okay." I wasn't okay. Not even close. But for the first time, I felt like I might be. The next morning, I woke up with Caleb's words echoing in my head. "You're not broken." They felt like a promise I wasn't sure I could trust. I avoided the library all day, sticking to the crowded cafeteria, blending into the noise to drown out my thoughts. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, felt the ghost of his hand on my wrist. Lincoln High was a pressure cooker, and I was already on edge. Rumors spread fast in a town like ours, and I'd heard the whispers about fags and freaks since middle school. I'd learned to keep my head down, to laugh off the taunts, to never let anyone see the truth. But Caleb had seen it, and now I couldn't unsee it myself. By fifth period, I was a wreck. Math class. His class. I slid into my seat at the back, hoping to disappear. But his eyes found mine the moment he walked in. "Good afternoon, everyone," he said, his voice steady as always. But there was a flicker of something concerned. Maybe when he looked at me. I buried my face in my notebook, pretending to take notes while my heart pounded. After class, he called my name. "Ezra, can you stay a minute?" The room emptied, leaving us alone again, and my stomach twisted. I approached his desk, clutching my backpack strap like it could anchor me. "You didn't come to the library this morning," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Everything okay?" I shrugged, avoiding his gaze. "Just busy." A lie, and he knew it. He stood, closing the distance between us. "If I overstepped last night, I'm sorry. I meant what I said. You don't have to go through this alone." "I don't know what this is," I snapped, louder than I meant. I glanced at the door, terrified someone might hear. "You're my teacher, Mr. Hart. Caleb. Whatever." This isn't normal. He flinched, but his voice stayed calm. I know it's not. But neither is feeling like you have to hide who you are. He lowered his voice. I've seen kids like you. Ezra. Smart. Talented. But scared to death of themselves. I don't want that for you. Kids like me. I laughed. Sharp and bitter. You mean gay kids? Because that's what you're saying. Right. The word felt like a bomb, exploding in the quiet classroom. I'd never said it out loud before, and now it hung between us, raw and irreversible. Caleb didn't look away. If that's what you are, then yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. I wanted to believe him, but years of fear didn't vanish with a few kind words. You don't get it, I said, my voice shaking. This town, my dad, this school feed destroy me. And you're married. You have a life. Why are you doing this? He hesitated, his expression unreadable. My marriage isn't what you think, he said finally. It's falling apart. Has been for a while. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because you deserve to know you're enough. Just as you are. His words hit me hard, cracking open a part of me I'd kept locked away. I wanted to ask about his marriage, about the pain in his voice. But the bell rang, shattering the moment. Students started filing into the classroom, and I bolted for the door, my head spinning. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on my bedroom floor, sketching furiously his face, his hands, the library door. Each stroke felt like a confession, a truth I couldn't say aloud. I was falling for him, and it was dangerous, wrong, impossible. But it was also the most alive I'd ever felt. The next day, I went back to the library. I didn't know why, except that I needed to see him, to understand what was happening to me. He was there, grading papers, and when he saw me, his face softened. Ezra, he said, like my name was something precious. I'm scared, I admitted, the words spilling out before I could stop them. Of this. Of me. Of you. He set down his pen, his eyes steady. I know. But fear doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're human. And in that moment, I believed him. The library became our unspoken refuge, a place where the world's rules didn't apply. Over the next few weeks, I found myself there every evening. And Caleb was always there too, grading papers or reading. But really, waiting for me. We didn't talk about a thing growing between us, but it was there in every glance, every brush of hands, every quiet laugh. I started opening up, bit by bit. I told him about my dad's drinking, how the house felt like a minefield. He told me about his life before Oregon, a city apartment, a wife who loved him but didn't know him anymore, a career he'd chosen to escape his own doubts. I thought teaching would give me purpose, he said one night, his voice low. But it's you kids, you, Ezra, who remind me why I'm here. His words made my chest ache. I wanted to be more than a student to him, but the thought felt like betrayal of his wife, of myself, of everything I'd been taught. Yet, when he smiled at me, when he leaned close to point out a detail in my sketch, I forgot how to care. One evening, as rain pounded the library windows, he asked to see my sketchbook again. I hesitated, then handed it over. He flipped through it slowly, his fingers tracing my drawing cityscapes. Faces. Him. These are incredible, he said, his voice full of awe. You could do this, Ezra. Really do it. No one leaves this town, I said, half joking, half resigned. I'll probably end up working at the mill like my dad. He set the sketchbook down, his eyes fierce. You're not your dad. You're not this town. You're bigger than that. I wanted to kiss him then, to close the distance and make the moment real. But I didn't. Instead, I said, what if I don't know who I am? He leaned closer, his voice soft but steady. You're Ezra Kane. Artist. Dreamer. Brave as hell. Even if you don't see it yet. The word brave broke something in me. I wasn't brave. I was terrified off my feelings. Of the town. Of the future. But with him, I felt like I could be. Our hands brushed as he handed back my sketchbook. And this time, neither of us pulled away. His fingers lingered, warm against mine, and my heart stuttered. Caleb, I whispered, testing the name. It felt like a secret, one I wanted to keep forever. He didn't say anything, but his eyes held mine, full of something I couldn't name: hope. Maybe. Or longing. The rain outside grew louder, a curtain between us and the world. For a moment, I thought he might lean closer, might cross the line we'd been dancing around for weeks. But then his phone buzzed, shattering the spell. He glanced at it, his face tightening. I have to go, he said, standing abruptly. My wife, she's expecting me. The mention of her was a cold splash of reality. I nodded, unable to speak, and watched him leave. The library felt empty without him, and I realized how deep I was into deep to turn back. That night, I drew him again, but this time, I added myself to the sketch, 2 figures, hands almost touching, standing in a world that didn't exist yet. It was a fantasy, but it was mine. The next day, everything changed. I walked into school and saw the whispers before I heard them. A group of guys by the lockers, staring at me, their laughter sharp and cruel. Fag, one of them muttered, loud enough for me to hear. My stomach dropped. Someone knew. Someone had seen us. By lunch, the rumors were everywhere. Ezra and Mr. Hart, they said, like it was a joke, a scandal, a sin. I wanted to disappear, but there was nowhere to go. When I saw Caleb in the hallway, his face was pale, his jaw set. Ezra, he said, pulling me aside. We need to talk. My heart sank. I knew what was coming, and it felt like the end of everything. The hallway was a blur of faces, each one a potential judge. Caleb pulled me into an empty classroom, closing the door behind us. His hands were shaking, and for the first time, he looked as scared as I felt. Ezra, what's going on? He asked, his voice low but urgent. I heard the rumors. Did you say something? No. The word burst out, sharp and desperate. I didn't tell anyone. I swear. My chest was tight, my breath shallow. But someone saw us. In the library. Or, I don't know. They're talking. He ran a hand over his face, exhaling sharply. This is bad. If the principal hears. If my wife, he stopped, his eyes meeting mine. I didn't mean for this to happen. Mean for what? I snapped, anger rising through the fear. For us to talk. For you to care. Or for me to feel. I cut myself off, unable to say it. For me to feel something I shouldn't. He stepped closer, his voice soft but intense. Ezra, I care about you. More than I should. But this, it's dangerous. For both of us. The words hit like a punch. He cared. More than he should. But the danger was real: his job. My future. The town's judgment. I wanted to scream. To tell him it wasn't fair. That I didn't ask for this. But all I could say was, "What do we do?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached out, his hand hovering near my shoulder before dropping. "We keep our distance," he said finally, each word heavy. "For now? Until this blows over." I nodded. But inside, I was breaking. Distance was the last thing I wanted. I wanted him closer. Wanted the library. Wanted the version of myself I'd only just started to meet. But he was right. The rumors were a fire. And we were gasoline. The rest of the day was a nightmare. Kids stared. Whispered. Laughed. I skipped lunch. Hiding in the art room. Sketching to keep my hands from shaking. By the time I got home, my dad was already drunk, slurring questions about why I looked so miserable. I lied, said it was school stress, and locked myself in my room. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the library. 8 p.m. We need to talk." See, my heart leapt, then sank. I shouldn't go. But I did. The library was dark when I arrived. The only light coming from a lamp on the table where Caleb sat. He looked tired. His shirt wrinkled. His eyes haunted. "Ezra," he said, standing as I approached. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to drag you into this." "You didn't," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I chose to be here." He shook his head. "You're 18. You shouldn't have to deal with this." "I'm the adult. I should have known better." "Known better than what?" I asked, stepping closer. "Than being kind. Than seeing me." My voice broke. "You're the only one who ever has." He looked at me, and for a moment, I thought he might close the distance. Might pull me into the kind of embrace I'd only dreamed of. But he didn't. "I'm leaving," he said instead, his voice barely audible. "I put in my resignation today. My wife, she knows something's wrong. I can't stay here." The words were a knife. "You're leaving?" I repeated, my voice hollow. "Because of me?" "No," he said quickly. "Because of me. Because I can't keep pretending I'm someone I'm not." I didn't understand. Not fully. But the pain in his voice was real. "What does that mean?" I asked. He took a deep breath. His eyes locked on mine. "It means I've been lying to myself for years. About who I am. About what I want." He paused, then said, "I'm not as straight as you think. Ezra." The world stopped. I stared at him, my heart pounding, as the truth settled in. He wasn't just my teacher. He was like me. And he was leaving. Caleb's confession hung in the air. A fragile truth that changed everything. I wanted to ask a million questions. When did he know? Why did he hide it? What did it mean for us? But the look on his face stopped me. He was raw. Exposed. Like he'd just torn down a wall he'd spent years building. "I don't understand," I said finally, my voice shaking. "You're married. You've got a life. How can you?" I was running. He interrupted, his voice rough. "From myself. From this." He gestured vaguely between us. But I knew he meant more than the library. More than me. I thought if I built the right life, wife, job, house, I could bury it. But you made me see it again. My chest ached. A mix of hope and fear. So what now? I asked. You leave. And I'm stuck here, dealing with the rumors. The stares. My dad. He flinched, guilt flashing across his face. I'm not abandoning you, Ezra. I'm trying to protect you. If I stay, it'll get worse for both of us. Protect me. I laughed, bitter and sharp. By leaving me alone in this hellhole. You're the only one who gets me. Caleb. The only one who makes me feel like I'm not. I trailed off, unable to say wrong. He stepped closer, his hands clenched at his sides like he was fighting the urge to reach out. You're not wrong, he said fiercely. You're perfect. And that's why I have to go. Because if I stay, I'll ruin you. His words were a punch, stealing my breath. I wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong, that we could figure this out. But deep down, I knew he was right. The town was already circling, the rumors growing sharper. If we were caught, if anyone saw what I felt in my eyes, it wouldn't just be whispers. It would be destruction. I don't want you to go, I said, my voice breaking. I know it's selfish, but I don't. He closed his eyes, like the words hurt. When he opened them, they were wet. I don't want to go either, he admitted. But I have to. For you. For me. We stood there, the library silent except for our breathing. I wanted to memorize him, the way his hair fell over his forehead, the curve of his jaw, the way his eyes held mine like I was the only thing that mattered. I wanted to keep this moment forever, even if it was breaking my heart. Will I see you again? I asked, barely a whisper. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. My number, he said, pressing it into my hand. If you ever need me, call. No matter what. I clutched the paper, my fingers trembling. And if I need you now? He smiled, sad and soft. You're stronger than you think. Ezra. You'll be okay. He left then, the library door clicking shut behind him. I sank to the floor, the paper still in my hand, and let the tears come. I wasn't okay. Not yet. But for the first time, I believed I could be. The next few days were a blur. Caleb was gone, replaced by a substitute who didn't know my name. The rumors didn't stop, but they faded, overshadowed by some new scandal. I kept his number hidden in my sketchbook, a secret I carried like a lifeline. I started drawing again. Not just him, but Mimi Truth. My fear. My hope. Each sketch was a step toward understanding who I was. Who I could be. And though Caleb was gone, his words stayed with me. You're not broken. Spring came. And with it, a quiet shift. The town still whispered, but I'd learned to tune it out. I was graduating soon, and the future felt less like a cage and more like a door I could open. Caleb's absence left a hole, but it also left me with something new, courage. I started talking to a counselor at school, a woman who didn't flinch when I said the word gay. She helped me find words for what I'd been carrying, helped me see that my feelings weren't a sin, but a part of me. I wasn't ready to shout it from the rooftops, but I was ready to stop hiding. One night, I pulled out Caleb's number and texted him. I'm okay. Thanks for seeing me. I didn't expect a reply, but my phone buzzed an hour later. You're welcome, Ezra. Keep being you. His words were a spark, reigniting the hope I'd almost lost. I started applying to art schools, places far from Oregon where I could be myself without fear. My dad didn't understand, but he didn't stop me either. For the first time, I felt like my life was mine to shape. Prom was the real test. I went alone, not brave enough to ask anyone. But I wore a suit that felt like mess harp. Bold. A little defiant. The whispers followed. But I danced anyway. Under the cheap disco lights. Feeling free for the first time in years. I wished Caleb could see me. Could know I was trying. Graduation came and went. A blur of caps and gowns and speeches about the future. I got accepted to an art school in Seattle. A city big enough to hold all the parts of me I was still discovering. Packing my bags felt like shedding a skin, leaving behind the boy who hid in the library. Before I left, I went back to the library one last time. It was empty, the air still heavy with memories. I left a sketch on the table where we'd sat, a drawing of two hands, almost touching, with the words "thank you" written in the margin. It was for him. For me. For the moment that changed everything. As I walked out, the door clicked shut behind me. Softer this time. I wasn't running anymore. I was moving forward. Seattle was a new world. Loud and alive in ways my hometown never was. The art school campus buzzed with people who didn't care who I loved. Only what I created. I painted. Sculpted. Sketched each piece a step toward understanding myself. But Caleb was never far from my thoughts. One day, in my second semester, I got an email. The subject line was simple: Ezra. My heart stopped as I opened it. Ezra, I hope you're thriving. I'm in Portland now. Teaching again. I got divorced last year. It was the right thing. For both of us. I think about you. About that night in the library. You gave me the courage to face myself. If you're ever in town, I'd love to see you. Caleb. I read it a dozen times. My hand shaking. He was free. But more than that, he was honest with himself. With me. I didn't reply right away. I needed time to process. To decide what I wanted. A month later, I took a bus to Portland. We met at a small coffee shop. The kind with mismatched chairs and too loud music. He looked different, lighter. Like a weight had lifted. I felt different too. Stronger. More sure of who I was. Ezra, he said, smiling as I sat down. You look happy. I am, I said. And it was true. We talked for hours. About art. About teaching. About the lives we were building. There was no pressure. No expectations, just two people who'd changed each other. As we said goodbye, he hugged me. Brief but warm. I'm proud of you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I'm proud of you too, I replied, meaning it. I didn't know if we'd see each other again, but it didn't matter. That night in the library, when he locked the door and saw mural I saw me had set me free. It wasn't about romance. Not anymore. It was about truth. About courage. About finding the strength to be myself in a world that didn't always make it easy. I went back to Seattle. To my paints and my future. The library door was behind me. But its echo lingered, a reminder that sometimes a single moment can change everything. And I was ready for whatever came next.